welcome to Offline and Outdoors educational video, the first ever one. So I wanted to make a video about the MSR Hubba Hubba NX 2-person tent. It's a great tent, but it's not perfect, like anything. And I've figured out little tips and tricks that just make the tent that much better. So the first thing I'm going to say, first tip, I learned this off Paul Mesner, shout out to Paul Mesner, is put your tent body in your pack and then put your poles in the side of the pack with the tent pegs inside as well. It just means that if you're stuffing things in your bag, you're not going to be risking bending any poles or anything like that. The last thing you want is getting to a campsite and having broken poles. So that's my first tip. Because to be honest, trying to get them back in that bag, as you can see, it's going to be a squeeze. So tip number 2 is to do with the footprint. So this is the MSR, it's a universal footprint, so this works with quite a few of their tents. It's a 2-person universal footprint. So obviously if you don't have this footprint, I would probably say get it, but be nearly made friends with me then. But I would be tempted to say have a look around and find another footprint with the same dimensions that potentially has grommets installed. So I'll roll a little clip here of Jake putting his tent up. His is the Nature Hike Bongar 2, and his footprint that came with the tent actually, which should be how it is really, has grommets on the corners. What that means is you can set the poles up independently of the inner tent. So what I've done, with a little bit of discipline and help from some pliers, I've put some I can't remember what size they are. I think there's 3/8. I can't remember. I'll put it on.
They look like 3/8 washers.
Yeah, 3/8 lock washers. So these, if I actually rotate them, you can see they're not holes. So
the spring washers.
Spring washers, that's it. Lock washers. They have a few different names. I'll try and put the image of the ones I bought. I got them from B&Q. They were only like £2. So for 10, you only need 4. So I suppose if you've got a mate who needs them as well, happy days. So bang those on. You're going to need pliers to do that. And what that means is you're not going to use it in these kind of conditions, but if it's raining, you can set your outer tent up first just to avoid things getting wet. So I'll show you how to do that today actually, because no one's ever shown me, so it's worth running through it. I never know which way around to put this, but there's a little tag there, so I'd always say the tag would go on the underneath, but it's the same material on either side. That's another thing with this. It'd be nice if they had adjustable guy lines on the corners, but because they don't, it means you have to independently guy out the ground sheet with the inner tent. So that's another. I'm not really selling this ground sheet, am I? The tent's brilliant though, and it's all. At the end of the day, with anything in life, it's what you make of it. So.
And to be fair, there's a lot of people just make their own ground sheets.
Yeah, with a bit of tar.
Yeah.
So, just get that in the general area.
General area.
Another little tip for you. Get a couple of carabiners on your pack. You can just. I'm struggling.
Well, I've got 2 of them on my pack, and you never even mentioned it to me that was something I should do.
Should have figured it out for yourself, shouldn't you, mate?
Really gonna have that attitude with me right now.
Free for all out here, mate. Wild.
Alright, just you wait until I go for that nighttime wee. And you think it's raining.
That's a true waterproof test, isn't it? The way I sort of figured it out last time, you would usually extend these middle sections. I think I realised it's best not to extend those just yet. So we can put our tent poles into our makeshift grommets. not Wallace and Gromit.
Cracking tent, Gromit.
So that's the inner tent. Usually you'd put this in now, but I'm going to set it up as if it was raining just for demonstration. So the next tip I'm going to give you is not an official tip really, because they're not actual guy points. So let me put this together and I'll show you what I mean. That worked.
Yeah, with a bit of assistance from Mother Nature.
Perfect. So what we're going to have to do here, if you want to come over, because these grommets don't line up perfectly, we do need to swap them over. But we're not going to do that just yet because, as you know, this rain sheet isn't guyed down. So if we were to just move the poles from the ground sheet to the rain fly, it'd just fly off. And it would well and truly catch the wind. So, because I had to do this last week in my dad's garden, I figured out all these little tweaks. There's a system to it, because it's not an official. This is my system, the offline and outdoors system.
I was going to give you full credits then as the Jard system.
No. Offline and outdoors, bro. Always. So, we're just going to ping that in there. But like I said, because we've made makeshift grommets, those aren't in the positions that the pole system is meant to be in. It's just a makeshift.
Yeah,
just to get
a pre-tent mock-up.
It's a pre-tent mock-up, and you're going to swap them out once you've guyed the outer tent. So, what we're going to do, so I've got a variety of pegs in here because these are the ones you get with the tent, just standard pegs. They'll do you fine for most things. And then these are your Y pegs. I forgot what these are called. I'll put the name on the screen, I'll put the link or whatever. They weren't cheap. I think I got 6 for like £20 or something. I'll put that all in the description or on the screen. But those are really good. And these are the ones, I didn't really know this, but the pegs you put into your ground sheet and everything like that, they don't need to be anything special. That's just holding it down. The prioritised pegs you want to be using are for the guy lines. So, like for example, this one now I'm pegging out the sides. I'm going to use the naughty pegs. Let's call them the naughty pegs. So it's worth just sort of being quite deliberate with what pegs you're using where. So now we've got this on, I think this is where I need to be putting this middle section up, because if I attention to this, I'm not going to be able to put that pole up in the middle. So this is where as well, if it is raining, once you've got this now, it doesn't look great. This is where you can be putting all your gear in here and it'll stay dry in here. Obviously your ground sheet may have gotten a bit wet while you were, depending how long it took you, hopefully not too wet. I mean, I wouldn't even bother trying to set up in torrential rain anyway. I'd just wait until it died down a little bit. But if you needed to, you just whip out a little towel, give it just a quick wipe. If you've got a pretty good towel, it should take up enough. Or if your pack's in your dry, in its, what you call it, rain cover anyway, you're laughing, aren't you?
Yeah, so, because that's not the floor that you're going to be sleeping on.
Exactly. And you give it a quick wipe before you put the inner tent in. And that's where you can sort of be strategic. So, I'm going to jump in here.
Got some quality footage of a tent moving from the outside.
So, and I'm going to try and line it up a little bit better. Seems.
I'm going to try and poke under from a different...
I'm going to try and get an angle. Yeah, it's worth doing it. Yeah, up. So, here we're going to try and line this up. You can see how everything's not perfect, but it's alright because we're going to rejig it. Then what we're going to do, we're going to add the tension. Oh, there we go. Obviously, because you're doing it this way round, you're going to feel quite a bit of tension. It's going to feel like more than it is. This is the right amount of tension. Why won't that turn? There we go. There we go. Obviously, doing it this way, it is a bit of a faff. But look at that now. once I guy these sides out, we'll have a look and you'll see. And you could sleep in it like this. Oh. If you weren't too fussed about bugs, you could sleep in it like this. So here we go. So when you just another note, when you're using any of these guy bits, you're putting your peg through the bottom loop. Here we go. There we go. Let that catch. And then you've got your pulley there. So, and always try and guy out as far as you can. Don't think, oh, I've got all that pull so I can just do it dead close. Try and do it as far as you can. I'm not sure why. I can't remember who. I think it might have been Good Bloke Outdoors or Hayes Outdoors. He said, put your guy lines as far as possible. Must be just to do with leverages.
It is. It's pulling against it diagonally, anchoring. You need the tension to make it work.
See that now? Looks all right as it is.
Going nowhere.
Going nowhere. So, same on this side. We'll try and see if you can see the pole. We're going to shift it afterwards anyway because this isn't the finished product. We're not far off the finished product though. So, there we go. Get a little bit of tension, but we are going to be rejigging things anyway. As you can tell, the wind's coming from this direction, so we have tried getting a general line with the wind. Doesn't need to be perfect because of all the extra work we're going to do with this tent. So if you just come this side, I'll show you why we've set the tent up. So this outer sheet, it has grey buckles on one end and then red on the other side. So the grey buckles on that side, you have these little points here. These aren't guy points. I will give a disclaimer there. I don't think you're meant to be guying these out, but it's solid. And what I do, as you can see, I put guy lines there. I'm not going to put them out just yet. I need to finish up. I will guy that out, and then the wind will hit this like this. We'll get a lot less movement. But like I said, they're not on the other side because it's not what they're for. But if you position correctly enough and the wind doesn't change direction, bit of extra security. But with more things to come, it's not going to be moving. So
buckle up, we're not done yet.
Saving the big guns. So now this is where we're going to change these over. So currently they're in both. We want to swap out. So we're going to pull the rainfly off, pull the pole out of the ground sheet grommet, and then put it back in the rainfly. As you can see, it's moving, but we're guide down here, so it's going nowhere. And if you say it's going nowhere,
you've upped your chances by 150% of it actually going nowhere.
Exactly. So that now is it's not a complete tent. I mean, I don't know personally. I mean, if you guide it out now, yeah, there's no reason why now if you guide it out, that's not a sleeping setup. Let's have a look anyway. Just because I wouldn't want to keep it, because you can see now, if we just look, I mean, it may be a different ball game when I put the inner tent in, and we'll see the difference. But if you just look how wide these poles are now, they're a lot wider than where these grommets are. So that means there's a lot more tension on the poles than is designed. It can take it, yeah. Do you want to leave them in that position? Personally, on a tent this expensive, my answer's no. So,
yeah, that's Liam levels of risk taking.
yeah, Liam can do that one. Like I said, it's a temporary situation. What have I done here?
A temporary solution to a permanent problem. Oh, Jordan Zip good. Call back.
10 out of 10 would zip. So there you can see a super spacious sleeping area. One of those, you're going to be sleeping with the bugs on this one, but roomy. You know, if you want to get one with nature, here's your opportunity. I mean,
yeah, you're one step closer to just tarp and hammock really there.
Yeah, exactly. Let's get the inner tent in. I think that's the next step on this magical journey. Obviously, the tent would have been up now, done, if we'd have not done this way around, but I thought I'd go to the extra effort. I hope you appreciate. If you've not liked the video by now, I'm not being funny, but I'll say no more. So, here we are now. We're getting this in. So, there's your next tip, because I've been through all this hard work to figure things out. Well, let me get these in first and then I'll tell you the tip, because it's not very relevant right now. So this one. So as you can see, we've got the colours on the inner tent as well. I'm not sure if we did have colours, but we do. So this is red, so this is on this side. So one thing I did realise yesterday, a good way to remember which way round to put the tent with the wind, obviously you're going to want the guy lines on the way that the wind is coming, and the way to remember that is that's on the grey side. So grey for guy lines, easy way to remember. And red is for rubbish, because no guy lines. So, if we're quite strategic here, we don't need to faff about in the tent too much, because we can do it from the outside. We can just reach in. So we'll reach in this side, potentially. Yep, it works. There we go. There we go. So I'm just doing the diagonals because obviously it's gonna pull away from me. Do this side. There we go. Happy days. Last one. So once you've added the inner, you can actually see that the tension is very, very close to the footprint. So you can sort of scrap what I said before. The thing is, you're not really going to need those as well. I mean, you could do just to keep it all super locked in.
Yeah, if you were nitpicking.
Yeah, I mean those now, they do actually sit in pretty neatly. So yeah, you can scrap what I said before. The way round you're going to put the poles in is your discretion really, but it's not too hard to just, once they're there, you keep hold of everything. You can swap them or have them which way around you want, but that now is the right way around, because no, it's not. It's not the right way around, because the outer tent is on last, so you'd have to take them all off, but hey oh, it's not too bad. Anyway, I digress.
The wrong way around, but it'll do.
Have I put this corner on? I haven't. There we go. Have a reach on the inside, and then we'll ping that in there as well, just because, why not? And then we can sort of adjust our guy lines afterwards. I mean, to be honest, thinking about it, a benefit of putting them in there is that you've freed up some guy lines now, so you don't need to guy these things out because they're attached to that.
Oh, when your washers?
Yeah. So really, you've freed up some guy lines there, so you don't need as many. Because like I was saying, because these are separate, you'd have to guy them out separately. You could do for extra security, but you don't need to, because that is holding.
It's all hooked up.
It's all hooked up in the same place. So yeah, I've actually didn't need to bring the 2 extra pegs. I'm gonna have 4.
When the temporary fix becomes a permanent fix.
There you go. It's all adding up, isn't it? Because I'm learning as I go along. This is the first time I've done it out here. So yeah, that's cool. So I'll have 4 spare pegs now to play around with. Let's see what comes of that. Now, knackered. Now we're gonna ping the inner tent up. So let's have a gander at that. So as you can see, we're all nice and taut on the inside. So now you're gonna be thinking, Jordan, how are you gonna get inside the tent and ping it up. How are you going to do? You're going to be pulling again. Ah, I knew you were going to ask that question. And that's why I'm a genius. A self-proclaimed genius. What you want to do is open up I can't speak. Open up your tent and actually kneel inside the tent. So now you can play around with the fabric while you're in here. So what we're going to do, I'm not saying it's still an easy job, it's definitely not, but obviously you'd only have to do this if it's raining. And to be fair, you could set the tent up as normal if it was raining, you could, and you could just, give everything a wipe down. Just depends how thorough you want to be. There we go.
Yeah, it depends on the level of rain, because I reckon by now you're probably going to be piss wet through doing it this way.
This is the thing, so with this strategy, we try and avoid the rain anyway, but you never know what might happen. With this strategy, you're going to want to practice it, okay? So don't just watch this and think, yeah, I've got it boxed off. Get yourself out in the garden, do it a few times, get used to the sort of the rigmarole of it all, because it is tricky. But there now, we're done. Well, oh wow.
So you would think.
Oh wow, I've just found some.
What?
Mum, get the camera.
Can't.
So
Jordan in the way.
So now let me get in the tent and I'll show you. I did not know this. So you've got a grommet on the inner tent that attaches to the pole, the floating pole, and the outer tent has a grommet for the pole. I had no idea. I had no idea, honestly. So that now they're attached. Genuinely, bro. I had no idea that was there.
Oh, well, we did say that you'd learn something new every trip.
Yeah, I've learned just as much making this video.
This is an educational video, not for you,
For me.
but for Jordan.
So, same thing on the other side. Don't forget that grommet on the actual outer tent itself. So, get this pinged up. There we go, get a bit of tension. And then we're gonna, I had no idea that was there, honestly. That's blown my mind, that. Maybe that's so that if you set the outer tent up by itself.
Yeah, you got some support.
You've got you've got a grommet there. I mean, it does just sit in place. It's very, it is very taut, that though. But that's what you want, that's what's gonna give you. And the good thing is it'll try and keep it in place. Because obviously there's seams on this tent and you want the poles. Can't even grab it, it's
so tight.
There we go. There we go. That'll be fine anyway. Right. So before we guy this out, or after we guy this out, who knows? We'll figure it out as we go along. Here's the main tip I'm going to give you. This changes the dynamic of the tent so much because, okay, so if we had the guy lines on these bits here, on the grey side, where the wind's come in, you're going to cut out a lot of that unwanted wind that's going to move. You see this? This is where the tent is vulnerable. You see all this give? That's because you've got a floating arc in the middle. There's nothing underneath that. You've got emptiness. So that's all give, which is fine. It bends and it moves, but for me personally, I've been laying that and it's been bending and moving. It's been like, nah, it just doesn't sit with me very well. I don't want to be in that when that goes not on me. And obviously the good poles, of course they are, but nothing's perfect.
It's the sound as well, isn't it? You're trying
yeah,
to sleep.
the noise, everything. So these are your best friends.
Are you all ready for this?
Absolutely buzzing. So I will say, don't just buy these for this tent. If you have a different tent, buy hiking poles anyway. Personally, these have been a little bit of a game changer. It's my first time using them on a proper hike with my pack on. It does make a big difference. It just cuts out, it just balances the weight off your knees. And I think especially if you've got dodgy knees anyway, or you just want to save your legs a little bit, These are really good. They're so light anyway, like even if you put them on your pack, you're not really going to notice them. But
which poles are them?
these are, I don't know the full name, I'll have to put the full name on the screen, but they're just, oh there you go, Black Diamond Trail Flick Lock, so that's the type of lock there. Fantastic. It's like a sort of like a nice felt handle. I did look for the cork ones that Hayes Outdoors has got. He's got, everything's the same, except this has got a cork handle. Not sure what the difference is personally, but apart from that, same pole, so shout out Hayes Outdoors. Because he's the reason I bought these ones specifically. Because, I mean, there's so many different ones. How do you decide it's just a pole? But these are super, super nice. So, here's what we're going to do. We're gonna do this. We're gonna line the handle up where the pole is. Can you see this? Yeah. We're gonna get that nicely. Make sure we're on the seam as well. Are we on the seam there, Liam? Can you see? Yeah, because the seam's massive. It's all this red bit.
Oh, anywhere up there.
That's where the pole can sit. So we're gonna
That's where you shove in your handle.
So that's where we're gonna put the pole. We're going to put the hiking pole against the tent pole. We're going to extend these. We're going to try and get it as straight as possible. Like that. There we go. We'll lock out this one here. Way up, it's gone too far. Where it says stop. Stop. And then we're going to push that. And we're going to push that right into the ground. Add a little bit of tension. We don't need too much right now. Like with anything, start kind of slack, tying it afterwards, just because if you're guying out things like that, you don't want that to be, you know, super like machine tight.
Yeah, always mock up first.
That's it.
So when you're building something, don't tighten your bolts until they're all in.
Yeah, exactly. Another thing, obviously, we're doing this while the door is open, so that's another thing to consider. So really what you're going to do is you're going to do this, you're going to get in the tent, close the door, that's where your super fine tuning is going to sit. But we've not got loads of wind right now, so it doesn't need to be super, super tight. What I'll do is I'll probably take that to there, and then we'll just adjust the last one. So we're going to find that spot there. Press that into the ground, push up slightly, and we're going to lock that in place. So, even without any guy lines,
Not bad considering it's not tied down.
exactly, mate. Look at that. Minimal movement now. So where this wind would be blowing here and moving this, no movement, because you've reinforced those, what would you call them, free float?
Yeah, just weak points.
Yeah. Because this is a 3-season tent. It's not designed for high winds. If you face it the right way, you can get away with it.
Sorry, can you just describe it how you described it to me and Jake when you first did it?
So basically, let me get the guy lines out first, and then I'll say
Then
it.
you'll say it.
Just putting in the penultimate guy line here. There we go.
Can't wait to trip over that later. On my way to my tent.
That's the only thing with this setup, you are spreading out. So, we'll just do this last guy line now, and I'll just show you what I've done. So, what I did is I bought a 4-pack of guy lines, and I only really needed 2, and that's for these bits, like I was showing you. So, you don't want to add too much tension on them, because they're not meant to be there, but just takes that give out of it, and they feel pretty solid, so that's happy days. So these are the guy lines you get when you buy the MSR ones. I'll put an image or a link on. Future Jordan will take care of that. So these are slightly different than the ones you get on here and here. They have like different kind of tensioner, but the tension is the same thing. So you get a circle, boom, and then you can adjust that. Obviously I'll show you after. So they don't tell you what not to use. So sort of just invented my own knot.
We're going to use the offline outdoors going nowhere knot.
Exactly. So that's any knot that exists, even a bad knot, just tell it it's going nowhere after you've done it. Job done.
Bosh.
Bada boom, bada bing. So I think I pulled about that much through. You don't need a lot. You don't need a lot. About, so what's that? 5 inches, about average?
Above average.
We're going to twist it a few times. Just going to go over, go over, go over, and then we're going to pull it nice and snug. So I've only got a little bit of fabric there, so what I'm going to say is use a little bit more. You can always cut out. Hey, this is it. It's all it. Hey, why are you laughing? Learning process.
Because you were so confident going into it, like you already knew exactly what you were doing.
Bro, if you're not going into it with confidence, what are you doing? There we go. Yeah, because that end bit stays the same length. So then all I did was open this last bit up here, feed it through. As you can see, it is nice and snug, so you know it's going nowhere. There we go. Then we're just gonna pull that through. And I think what I did as well, if you want to be extra secure, you can get that bit you've just done.
You've made like a reverse slip knot.
Oh, there you go. It's nothing special. I can tell you that for free. It is nothing special. I don't think this one has worked as well as the other one, but
Sweet that.
if you just pull it tight, you can tell that is going nowhere. It's not
It
perfect.
would have to be one hell of a gust of wind.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And I think what that means is if I did want to get that off, I could. Obviously, if you're looking for good knots to use that would probably serve better, Paul Cracker's your guy for that. He's done a few videos on different knots to use for all different things, you know, setting up tarps and whatnot. So, what I've done, so this loop here is for this guy line here to come down and then come that way and ping it out, but you're getting a weird double tension there because you're adding tension to this, but you're pulling it through there and you're spreading that tension, and to me, if wind's going to hit it, that's vulnerable still.
Plus it makes like a weird kink in the material as well.
Exactly. So you've got the same effect on the end ones here for the air vent, so I've not put them out because I want to keep that line and I want to keep this vent, but these aren't really vulnerable, so you don't, they're probably your least important guy lines. It's mainly just for keeping the vent open. Whereas this now, I feel like that is a pretty sort of what's the word, structural guy line. This is my first time doing this. I've literally just added the other one and added this one. Not gonna, as you can see, I can't make it too long because I've run out of earth.
Yeah, because it'll swim off.
But I don't think it, I mean, that's still pretty far, to be fair. I'm gonna have to bring it even closer actually.
You know, if one of these lines kills me, I drove.
I can drive your car. And there we go, nice bit of tension there. Not too much, don't overdo it, especially with these ones. I mean, that could even be looser because, as you can see, the fabric is coming out, and it doesn't need to be out, it just needs to be, oh, I'm adding tension there. It just needs to be in line. But there, it's not gonna let it go in any further. You don't need to bring it out, just don't let it go in. And then here we've got the tensioners for the outer, so that will bring this a little bit tighter. If you just want to just dial it in a little bit. I don't think it needs it with all these guy lines personally, but I think just getting it snug. All these guy lines.
I know, you've set up a right trap.
That's the only thing, you're taking up a lot of what do you call it, real estate.
Yes.
What am I pulling here? Oh, I'm pulling the inner tent there. Oh, it's the inner tent. No, yeah. Honestly, you learn there's so many different aspects. So you've got the inner tent tensioners on here as well. I've not actually adjusted those. That's something you don't need to worry about as much. Well, they're not even guyed in, so potentially you could do that, but they don't even need guying in because you're all set up, you guide down anyway. So one thing I did realise, my mistake, don't put your trekking poles in the tent until you completely finish guying everything out, because when you're guying things, you move in the tent, your trekking poles move. So what I've done is I just loosened them off. You could get them in place, definitely get them in place like that, have them in position, you know, boom, we're right there now. And then we're gonna just get a nice little bit of tension, not loads. And it actually perks the tent up a nice amount. A little bit more tension, I think, just because it is on a pole, so it's not what do you call it? It's not flush with anything, but that is bulletproof. So what you've done now with the MSR Hubba Hubba NX at the end of this tremendously long video, hopefully I've edited it to a more watchable length.
Okay, well before he edits it, I just want to point out this is now ticking on the 40th minute.
Brilliant. Of filming, yeah. Just figuring things out, like I said, practice this at home. I only practiced this once in the garden. And there's just so many different things to remember. It's like, you know, and they don't give you a step-by-step guide on all these things. No one has. That's why I thought I better do it. So now you've taken a 3-season tent and you've made it into a 5-season tent. Like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for watching.